Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Where Is, and this one is going to be very similar to another one that I have talked about in the past, and that is Amy Bradley. Some of you may remember, I think I posted a video about her around this time last year, and it is one of the cases that I was really obsessed with from the start of my journey in the crime world, and I found a case that is pretty similar and realized that there's a lot of similar cases to this one. Today we're going to be talking about cruise ship disappearances and focusing on one specifically, Rebecca Corriam. But before we get started with that, I wanted to tell you guys that we have now raised over $24,000 for Thorn. I am super excited to announce that we are so close to 25,000, which is amazing, and I can't wait to see what we do over time. This Where Is campaign has been a huge success.
My day job is as the chairman and the co-founder of Thorn. We build software to fight human trafficking and the sexual exploitation of children. And that's our core mission. My other day job is that of the father of two, a 2-month-old and a 2-year-old. And as part of that job that I take very seriously, I believe that it is my effort to defend their right to pursue happiness and to ensure a society and government that defends it as well.
And thank you to everyone who has donated or bought a shirt. Of course, we have another shirt this month, and I actually am bringing back the shirt from last month as well. The shirt last month did so well. You guys were so interested in it, and I think some people didn't realize they're limited edition and wanted it after the fact. So I decided to bring that one back, which was designed by Katie. What up, girl? Thanks for your design. This is going to be available for 21 days. These are all limited edition. And then we also have this design this month, which I love this one. So cute. If you're into astrology or space, I just thought it was such a cute design. This was designed by a subscriber named Glyca. So remember, you guys, these are completely original. They're made by fellow subscribers. No one else is going to have them. They're limited edition. And the best part is 100% of the money that is raised from these shirts goes directly to Thorn. So I'm not making a dime off of them. It is all being donated. And with your guys' help, we are going to get over 25,000 and go for the moon. Not only that, I also have a donation link that is now active. You guys can donate whatever amount, even $1, to the link below. It really does help. And the shirts will also be available to purchase with links down below. But also, I do need designers. So I'm looking for artistic friends out there. Any of you who do graphic design can do that type of work and want to contribute to a great cause just by creating something, this is a great opportunity to do so. If you know anyone else who's a graphic designer, I'm looking for designs of all sorts, just things that you personally would want to see on a shirt that you think my audience would like. I will remind you guys that my audience is a strong 90% female audience, so definitely a little bit geared that way, but I'm open to anything. It doesn't have to be like something to do with me. It can be whatever. I'm just looking for cool designs that people are going to want to wear and buy so that we can give as much as we can to Thorn. So if you are interested in being part of that, there's a link to submit a design below. Definitely check that out. But let's go ahead and get right into talking about Rebecca. This case seriously has not gotten enough coverage. It should have media coverage. I'm surprised that it doesn't, but there are so many cruise ship cases that have barely gotten any attention. And I mean, most of us think that cruises are a safe place. They're a relaxing place. It's a fun thing to do.
Party jumping until the morning, feeling free, free, free.
This is not just any cruise. You won't walk on just any stairs. These steps are covered in Swarovski crystals.
But it turns out that they're pretty damn dangerous.
A recent government report shows concerns about cruise ship crime reporting, questioning whether passengers have the right information before booking their vacations. Under pressure from Congress, 4 of the world's largest cruise companies recently began posting crime stats online for 9 serious offenses. For 2013, a total of 78 crimes nationwide, including rapes and other sexual assaults.
It's maddening.
Longtime maritime attorney Jim Walker says there's more crime happening than those numbers show.
The data that's actually being required to be reported is only a small fraction of the overall cruise industry.
Detroit Crime Commission Director Andrew Arena says cruise crimes were also a big problem at the ports in New York City when he headed up the FBI's criminal division there.
Almost every cruise ship that came back in, we had to send agents to meet the ship because something happened. somebody, you know, went missing overboard, sexual assault, theft, something.
Cruise corporations do know every crime that happens because they're required to keep a detailed log on board. But as of now, they're not required to release that log to the public.
So this is Rebecca Corriam. She was born on March 11th of 1987 in Chester, England. Rebecca was described as someone who was very cheerful, bubbly, and very happy overall. She lived with her parents, Mike and Anna Maria Corriam, as well as her sister Rachel and her 2 foster brothers. Rebecca actually went by Bex, B-E-X. Cute little name for Rebecca. She was 24 at the time, and she followed in the footsteps of her family members working at the Chester Zoo. When she went on breaks, she visited her grandparents. Rebecca worked at the Doubletree by Hilton at one point as well, where her sister also worked, and she enjoyed her time there and met a wide circle of friends who she remained in close contact with. And a little bit after that, she joined the British Army Cadets in her teens and attended Plymouth University, where she studied sports science. With such a fun and bubbly personality, what better job for you than working at Disney, the happiest place on earth, right? Well, Rebecca was interested in being an employee on Disney cruises, which a lot of young people end up working on cruises because, duh, you get to travel, it's awesome, you get to go to all these different places, work in an awesome environment, it's like fun. I mean, I can't speak from experience, maybe it's terrible. It looks fun. But in 2010, she decided to have an interview with Disney Cruises. And it's competitive to work on a Disney cruise. There was like hundreds of other people that were auditioning. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Disney Cruise Line, it's basically just Disney World on a cruise ship. There's like characters, but there's more for parents to do, but it's quite expensive. Today, a Disney cruise is about $125 to $150 per person per night at sea. So this is over $4,000 for a family of 4 to go on a 7-night cruise. And this does not include things like excursions, alcohol, souvenirs, etc. So it's a very pricey family vacation. And I think a lot of people think they're getting added safety in this. But the truth about the cruise world is there's a lot of gray area. But lucky for Rebecca, she was hired at Disney Cruise. She was so excited about it. For her training, she did 4 days at Disney World at the parks and had a great time. And then she eventually started working on the ship. And specifically, she was working on the Disney Wonder, which departs from Los Angeles. And while she was working on the ship, her parents said that she kept in pretty good contact with them, was constantly checking in, and they felt good about the whole situation. She was actually a youth worker on the ship, so I'm guessing this is something like a kids club, you know, a place where parents dump their kids off so that they can go party or do whatever on the boat. Sadly, during her time working on the boat, her grandfather passed away. She returned home for 2 weeks to attend the funeral and spent time with her family, and that is actually the last time anyone in her family saw her. On March 21st, 2011, she was 24 years old and she departed on Disney Cruise once again. Rebecca sent her mom a Facebook message letting her know she was okay, she was good to go, and that she would call her tomorrow. Everything seemed to be going fine on the boat. It was literally smooth sailing and there was nothing out of the ordinary going on. On the early morning of the 22nd, the boat was going past the coast of Mexico, and Rebecca actually never called her mom. Her mom began to get worried, as she did say she was going to call her. It was later in the day at this point, still nothing from her, which left her a little concerned. But later that night, Rebecca's mom received a call from the Disney ship saying that Rebecca was missing. So obviously her mom panicked, as you would, because it's a cruise ship. It's very, very scary thinking of what could have happened, especially with the fact that you're surrounded by water. And not only are you surrounded by the water, but falling off a cruise ship is like falling onto cement. It is so hard when you hit, like, most people who fall off cruise ships or jump off cruise ships don't survive. So obviously there's a real sense of panic here.
Well, we got the phone call about 11:15 the Tuesday evening, just before we go to bed, from Disney to say that Rebecca is missing at sea. And they've...
I don't think it gets any easier. I think the longer it goes on, the harder it seems to get.
So let's look at what Rebecca was doing before all this happened. The night before she went missing, she was apparently at the bar on the ship with some of her friends. The next day, she was supposed to show up for work at 9 a.m., but she never showed up. That's when the crew decided to try to find her, try to go check on her, and they were not able to locate her. She was not in her room. She was not anywhere else on the ship. They tried to page her over the intercom, but they never received any response back. So at this point, they decided to take a look at the cameras on the ship. And that's when they saw a video of Rebecca on deck 1 in the crew's quarters on one of the phones making a call. And in the footage, people say that she looked upset, worried about something maybe, had an argument with someone on the phone maybe. No one's exactly sure what she was doing, but people were concerned that maybe something was wrong. The footage even shows someone passing by her and asking if she's okay, and she said, yeah, I'm fine. So clearly someone else even noticed in person. After she got off the phone, she ran her hands through her hair and then put her hands in her back pocket and started walking away. And this is the last footage of her. This is the last time anyone would see her. Her parents said that these were normal mannerisms for her. So her parents, of course, flew out there as soon as they could. They ended up going right to Los Angeles, going right to the port so that they could be there when the ship showed up. They were expecting the FBI to also be there, like waiting for the boat, and it turns out that the FBI wasn't there. And they were actually told that no US organizations would be getting involved in this crime. Now, this is when the fuckery of the cruise ship world comes into play. And one thing that was super weird about this whole situation is that when her parents were brought to the ship port, they were put in a car with all blacked out windows and brought up to a side entrance where they could get onto the boat without people seeing them. It was almost like Disney was trying to keep this on the DL. And this is because there is another cruise that is going to be boarding that day. You know, they drop the first load off and then they fill it back up again.
The ongoing investigation didn't keep the Disney Wonder from embarking on another cruise Sunday evening, just hours after it had arrived.
There's going to be people that are waiting to get on this ship. It doesn't look great if there's someone saying, hey, my daughter just went missing off this ship, especially if we found out it was a youth worker, like someone who's supposed to be in charge of children who's missing. Obviously, her parents were just really, really worried and devastated. But they got to get on the boat and talk to the captain, and they went up to him and asked him what he thought had happened. And he said that he thinks that maybe she had a disturbing phone call, had an upsetting phone call, went up to the 5th floor, the 5th deck, to gather her thoughts, maybe think about everything that happened on this phone call. He said that maybe she was sitting on the edge of the boat or close to the edge, and that maybe a big wave came and swept her right off into the ocean. So obviously her parents don't like this answer, and a lot of other people are just like, what? Her parents went to this area themselves and saw how hard it would be. They could barely see over the railing themselves.
They took us to the deck.
And what did you make of the possibility of it being dangerous, that there could have been some sort of accidents?
We didn't think that was possible. I had to get underneath at least a 4-foot veil where there was a huge metal ledge, and I couldn't see over it. It was really quite high. I couldn't see how anyone could have gone over, or if they wanted to take their own life even would have gone over it from that particular part of the ship.
Didn't make any sense again. Disney Cruise basically said that they didn't have cameras in that area, but they're pretty sure that she just fell overboard. They didn't even want to entertain any idea that maybe something or someone on the boat had done something to her. Maybe one of their employees has done something. Like, you don't know who these people are. Oftentimes they aren't like very well recruited or documented people. So who really knows who could be working on some of these ships? And obviously not every person that works on a cruise ship is bad, but there definitely can be people that are there for the wrong reasons on the boat. In the case of Amy Bradley, I truly believe an employee, specifically someone in the band, took Amy off of the boat and brought her into human trafficking. And I think this kind of thing happens a lot, and cruises kind of turn their head to it. So here we are, and Disney doesn't even want to entertain the idea that anything bad happened, that anything with foul play could have happened. And then we have the FBI just refusing to help.
When the Disney cruise ship Wonder returned from a 7-day Mexican cruise early Sunday morning, it docked in the port of LA with one of its crew members missing. 24-year-old Rebecca Corriam of Chester, England, worked in Disney's youth program. She vanished 5 days ago while the ship was on its way to Puerto Vallarta.
They told us over the loudspeaker several times that they were looking for her.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden they said they still hadn't found her.
The cruise line issued this statement today. We have been doing everything possible to find Rebecca Corriam, including conducting multiple shipboard searches. Rebecca's disappearance has been difficult for everyone at Disney Cruise Line.
but we didn't notice anybody panicking or, frantically going in and out of rooms or...
I actually didn't even notice the search. I mean, it was, they said that they were searching, but it was nothing obvious.
But one passenger heard something much more ominous.
I talked to one of the people that pick up. They said that they found her shoes and her belongings, and they have a feeling that she might have suicided. Very quiet woman.
Rebecca Corriam's family boarded the Disney ship to speak with investigators and gather their daughter's belongings.
They were given the option to have a Bahamas police detective look through the boat, but the problem with this is the police officer was only given a few hours because time's a ticking. We got a whole new crew coming in, a whole new group of passengers waiting to get on their Disney cruise. So you better hurry this shit up. We've got money to make and places to be. And her parents were really left in such a shitty situation. And I forgot to mention, by the time the ship had even gotten to the port, it had already been 3 days since Rebecca had gone missing. So it's been some time. This situation is far from ideal in a missing persons case. The only initial statement that Disney Cruise made was that they were heartbroken by the whole situation and what happened to Rebecca, but they said that all questions about the incident need to be forwarded to the Bahamas police. Then in May, 2 months after she had gone missing, the bank that she used informed her parents that there was activity on her card. This gave her parents the hope that maybe she was still alive.
That new clue in the search for the young cruise worker turns out to be recent activity on her credit card. It's one of the few hopeful signs the family's received since she vanished in March.
Rebecca Corriam's mother received an email over the weekend from her daughter's bank reporting recent financial activity on her credit card. The 24-year-old British woman, a Disney Wonder crew member, vanished last March, less than 24 hours after the cruise ship sailed out of Los Angeles on a 7-night cruise to the Mexican Riviera. In a telephone interview from England today, Corriam's father told Eyewitness News this latest development could provide a significant clue in the case of his missing daughter.
It could be that, she's alive. Or then again, it could be somebody else trying to get in the account, or it could be someone trying to get in ours. I don't know. It's in the hands. It's being investigated at the moment. That's all I know. We know on that at the moment.
To this point, there has been no evidence of foul play. While there was an unverified claim by another crew member that Corriam jumped overboard, her body has never been found. We contacted Disney Cruise Line for comment on this new development. They issued this statement, quote, "Over the past few weeks, we have done everything possible to get to the bottom of this situation. We continue to assist the Royal Bahamas Police Force with their investigation and are awaiting their final report. We understand this is a very difficult time for the family and our thoughts are with them."
But unfortunately, nothing more came out of it. In September of 2011, Rebecca's uncle John Jennings decided to try to get into her Facebook account. But surprisingly, her password had been changed recently. So who had access to her account? Was it her? Now, it's so crazy they've barely been able to look into this, and it drives me nuts because these seem like huge things. Activity on the credit card, activity on social media. This is intense. Like, this could be Rebecca, or this could be someone with access to Rebecca's information or access to Rebecca, like asking her things. She could be with someone. It definitely shows that she could be alive, or that there was foul play involved at least. Furthest scenario with this type of evidence is her just falling off the boat. The Corriams and their lawyers say that they were never even given a final report from the Bahamas police. And then British detectives got a hold of it, but they refused to give it to the Corriams because they said it contains personal information, whatever that means. It sounds to me that there's some major cover-up going on. There's a reason why this case hasn't gotten that much coverage, why it's almost impossible to find anything about it, like documentaries. So this is John Ronson. He is a journalist and he's very interested in Rebecca's case. So he decided that he would go onto the cruise ship himself, and he made sure that he was on the exact same route that Rebecca was on. And while he was on the ship, he talked to a bunch of different crew members, and he said that some of the crew members didn't even want their identities shown. They seemed very weird when he was asking about the whole situation. He said that some of them were acting like there was more to the story, but that they were supposed to keep it quiet. He felt like people were kind of hinting that there were things the public knew, but they just couldn't say anything. One of the bartenders even said, "It didn't happen, but that's just what I'm supposed to say." And he said that some of the crew members would even become defensive, saying she fell off the boat and Disney knows exactly what happened, like basically being like, shut up, there is no other story here. While John was on the boat, he kind of scanned the whole thing, and he said that there were several places where someone could easily be thrown off the boat without anyone knowing. He came to the conclusion that the 4th deck was actually the most likely for someone to fall off because the railings weren't very high. He said it made more sense too because she often used this deck. She was a sports and exercise person and she constantly was up there doing laps and stuff like that. However, the tricky thing about this is that this particular deck had a ton of cameras, and if she fell, one of them would have picked it up. So let's talk about all the different theories about what could have possibly happened to Rebecca. Obviously, we need to talk about the idea of her actually falling off the boat. Is this possible? I mean, people do fall off cruise ships. I've seen videos of people falling off cruise ships. Very scary stuff, but it does happen. People often use the argument that there was a flip-flop of Rebecca's on the deck that they think she jumped off of, but come to find out, these flip-flops weren't even Rebecca's. So that argument's kind of out the window. Her family said that the flip-flop just wasn't hers, and they also found out that another crew member's name was written on the side of the shoe. But could she have really fallen off? I mean, it is possible, or it's possible she jumped. I don't know though. Obviously, if she didn't jump, maybe she was murdered. Records show that the sea was completely normal that night. Not any like waves, nothing crazy, no crazy weather, anything like that. So this makes the whole idea that Rebecca was thrown off the boat by a wave kind of impossible. I mean, the ocean was supposed to be very calm that night. He also thinks that if there was a wave that was actually big enough to sweep her off the boat, that it would have left some type of damage on the boat or flooded an area of the boat. Labour Member of Parliament Chris Matheson believes that Rebecca was a victim of murder. He said, the more you look into this, the more it smells rotten, the more it smells like a crime. He also claims to have a copy of the original police report with compelling evidence to show that. Former Deputy Prime Minister named John Prescott also believes that she possibly could have been thrown overboard. Another theory is that she was possibly taken off of the boat by a crew member. It doesn't seem like any investigators really think that this happened, but it is possible. I mean, human trafficking is a huge industry, and getting a person that is not normally in these areas into sex trafficking can be very lucrative for the sex traffickers. The last theory is obviously that Rebecca committed suicide. 10% of cruise ship disappearances are said to be suicides. So a lot of people have said maybe she was struggling and decided to take her own life. There were reports that Rebecca was in a relationship, but the relationship was struggling and not the happiest or healthiest relationship to be in. Rebecca and her girlfriend experienced quite a bit of relationship problems, and their relationship was described as being wonderful one moment and then horrible the next. But her family really thinks that this just isn't even possible. They think that she would not commit suicide, and she had just obtained these passes for her family to visit Disney in Paris. It was going to be this huge surprise for her family. Like, it's kind of odd to just kill yourself if you had this big thing coming, but you know, it definitely can't be ruled out either. So, but when it comes to Rebecca's case, that's really all that there is. Her parents have been left with not a whole lot of answers, not a whole lot of help, and a whole lot of questions. And Rebecca isn't the only one that this has happened to, obviously. In the past 15 years, there have literally been hundreds of cases of people vanishing at sea and never being found again. Roughly 50% of these disappearances are thought to have some sort of foul play, and 40% of the time the person has alcohol in their system. And it turns out that committing a crime on a cruise ship is much easier. You have a better chance of getting away with it. It's this weird place where there's no one responsible for the sea. No one owns the sea, so oftentimes no one can help from your country, and the normal efforts that would be made if you went missing on land are not, you know, made when you're missing at sea.
You're more likely to get away with it committing the crime on the cruise ship on the high seas. All of this is happening out in international waters typically. There are no policemen on the scene. You can't call 911, or you can't summons a police officer who will run onto the crime scene. So they're out there by themselves.
To this day, there have literally been no leads on Rebecca and what could have happened to her. Rebecca's mother and father actually filed a lawsuit against Disney because they pretty much did nothing. They never conducted a thorough investigation. They pretty much just ignored the whole situation. In 2015, the Corriam family and Disney Cruise settled on an unknown amount, but I'm sure it was a pretty penny. Like, they wanted to keep this quiet. There is a website set up by her family with details on Rebecca, and any more information, I'll of course link that below. There's also a website called internationalcruisevictims.org that talks more about this whole issue and all the people that have gone missing, so I'll link that as well. My thoughts go out to the Corriam family. I'm sure this has been so hard. I can't imagine how hard it would be to lose someone off a cruise ship, because your mind must just run with the possibilities. Like, I just can't even put myself in those shoes of feeling like no one was gonna help me and having nowhere to start. And with somewhere as big as the ocean, I mean, you're just really feeling hopeless at that point. So my deepest condolences condolences and love and support goes out to her family, and I really hope that maybe one day Rebecca could be found. I mean, you never know, it is possible. But that's it for me today, guys. I really want to know your thoughts on this. Do you think something happened to Rebecca? Do you think there's foul play involved, or do you think it could have been falling or jumping? I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this for sure, and any experiences you've had on a cruise ship that's sketchy, or I'd love to hear your thoughts on this whole industry and problem. This is a major problem that eventually they're going to have to do something about, and I wish the media would cover these things more often, because I mean, if you're going to go on a cruise ship, you just got to be careful. Like, I'm not saying don't ever go on a cruise ship. I'll probably end up going on one eventually. I haven't been on one since like 8th grade, but I'll probably go on one day, but bet your ass I'm going to be very, very vigilant and careful. I think in places where people are on vacation, they often are too relaxed, or, you know, drinking, and things can happen to people. I mean, it's definitely dangerous, so you got to be vigilant. Don't forget to check out the new Thorn designs. Both of those shirts 100% goes to Thorn. Also, the donation link, remember, you can even donate $1, so every little bit helps. Thanks so much, everyone. I hope you're having a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Where'd you go? Seems like it's been forever. Where'd you go?